All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Select Start, where we talk about anything and everything video game related. I'm your gracious host, Rick, followed by my two friends today, Anthony and Gabe, and our special guest star, Edwin. Say hello, Edwin.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, hi, everybody.
Yeah, Edwin has his own Twitch channel down here on Etchman100. Check it out if you like. But today we'll be talking about bad video game sequels, why they're bad, and what they could have done to make them better.
Not all of them are bad, though.
True.
No, all of them are bad.
So just to let the viewers know. So all the games I'm going to mention today, they're not bad games, but they are bad sequels to games that previously have been released. So just some notes. I may talk about a game, may be a little controversial when I say if it's a bad sequel, but I'm not saying that all these games are bad. But the first game on our list here, we might as well talk about the biggest flop in video game history, Duke Nukem Forever. Do you guys know Duke Nukem?
Of course.
Of course, I've just never played any of them. That's really
Yeah, I never played any of them. I do remember when it came out because I remember a lot of people hyping up Duke Nukem just because of how long the development was for it.
People were so excited for it.
Yeah, no, Duke Nukem was a game that came out back in the 90s, and it's been in development hell for 15 years. So by the time it got released, the audience for Duke Nukem kind of grew up, but the game didn't grow up, so all the humor and jokes from it are just really dated and they're just really not good.
Right.
Yeah. Not to mention that a lot of things are wrong with the game, especially when it was forced to be finish development for it, when they forced to finish it.
It also went through a few development teams, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it was like passed on and stuff like that. So stuff was like, taken and shifted around. And stuff just didn't mesh. I know a lot of people said that it was clunky. It just didn't feel like a finished product.
Yeah, no, they said the game was buggy, that 15 years in development could have resulted in something really good, but it became something that was more like sexually insensitive, with all the jokes being really old and stuff like that.
Right.
I think people definitely have this misconception of if something's in development or being worked on for a long time, that means there's a lot of work being put into it.
Yeah,
But like with
it's a
Duke
common
Nukem,
misconception, though.
yeah, but like with Duke Nukem, like the issue wasn't that they were trying to refine the game. It's not like a Berserk chapter where the artist is just fixing every little pixel, and that's why it allegedly takes so long. For like games like this, it's just like they just I don't know. It must have been weird because they had issues and they probably just kept having to start over and they couldn't figure stuff out. You know what I mean? Like that's why like, some of these games like take forever to come out because there's just issues they can't work out.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But like when the first Duke Nukem came out, like I remember my cousin used to play it because when I was like small, I used to watch him play, and it was kind of like fun because like not a commentary, the jokes were funny and like it was more like rated mature. So like I thought I was like, oh, it's gonna be cool and stuff. But like as the game just kept being stalled for 10 years, even post when it was supposed to originally be developed or released, sorry. It was such a big flop. But like there are ways they could have made this game better upon release. Like with today's, 2020 technology. Like even that aside, what do you guys think could have been done to make this game like good on release?
I think researching what's happening around in 2011 at the time.
Yes, you're right.
Definitely understanding what's popular around that time. Because I don't know when they started redeveloping the game again. I don't remember exactly. But I'm assuming it would be like 2 years of development that they had. That would have,
I don't know,
like helped out the game. But other than that, like I think they just didn't know their audience at the time. They were just looking more for the people who used to play the games.
Yeah, and that seems to be like a common thing between like when games go into like these long hiatuses that eventually when they release, they really forget what audience they're catering to, because the audience they would have been catered to might have already moved past these games.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing is that they were just trying to like remaster a game that really shouldn't have been remastered.
No, I think
they kind of it kind of like one thing people like you said before, like the jokes were outdated and whatnot, and that's because they were trying to convert everything from the old game to the new one without a proper transition. You know what I mean? Because like you said, it was a big time difference. So
It was a
they
big
should
time
have
difference.
like yeah, so they should have matured the game in a sense of it should have aged
With
along
the
with
adult,
people
yeah.
that originally played. Yeah. So like, and also yeah, it probably could have done better with pop culture references. It would have hurt the game by like dating it, but at the same time,
Well, think about it, like on release though, if they change the humor and the jokes of the game to, around 2010 type of jokes. Like, granted, it would take a little longer for release, but at least the game's humor wouldn't be one of the bigger issues. The problem was like they kept the same jokes from like the 90s, and that really didn't work out for the game. Like I would have found it really funny personally if you just saw clips of the games if they just had like this had like you said pop reference culture from like back in 2010s and stuff. It can also really benefit from like a visual update because like even though it came out in
oh yeah,
2011, it looked like a game
terrible.
from like 2000.
Yeah. Also,
I thought it looked like a game from like PS2 era at least.
yeah. Another thing people complain about, I'm pretty sure, was that it got repetitive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, aren't all the Duke Nukem games like the same kind of format where you just kind of shoot everything you see and everything's kind of
well,
just like.
Oh
you can't say
yeah,
it's a
but sort of
bad
like the new.
formula.
Yeah, like look at Doom.
Yeah, that's what I
Doom,
mean.
they reinvented themselves, and now it's like a huge series again.
Yeah, it is.
Very popular. They're like between Doom 2 and Doom 1. Sorry, viewers, Doom 2 is not on this list for bad sequels. It is a good game, but the only downside to it was that with 2, the story was a little shoved in your face, unlike 1. But yeah, with Doom, I liked it because you can just kind of put the story to the side and just go to an all shoot 'em up kind of game where you're just like you didn't care, you just killed everything in front of you, and it was fun doing it. Like I would have loved to see that in Duke Nukem with with Duke Nukem doing it though.
Yeah, because like Duke Nukem was just like I guess the easiest way to like give him a today representation would probably be like the Chad meme, Like Duke Nukem was the original
Yeah.
Chad, dude.
Duke
He
Nukem,
was a Chad, yeah.
the Chad. He was a Chad. He was Chad of his
Like,
time.
he was blonde. He was ready to kick some ass and chew some bubblegum, and he was all out of bubblegum, So like
Hmm.
he was all about it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we have. Maybe we'll see Duke Nukem revived later in the future. Like enough fans want like a revival, and maybe they'll give it like the Doom treatment, where they really bring it back, like modern day aesthetics and like really fun combat. But as far as things go, the combat is bad. The overall story of no one really cares about, and the jokes are just stale. So
Yeah.
it is unfortunate. But moving on to our next topic, I put two games together because they're basically the very exact same problems for these games: Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. Alright, guys. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the reason I put 5 and 6 together is because they are the furthest thing from the Resident Evil genre of like horror survival games. And these
They're
two,
more like trying to hit like that uncharted territory, like adventure movie esque kind of games.
yeah, and like individually, they're not like super awful games. But if you take into account them being Resident Evil games, they don't fit in the formula at all. It's like you just have monsters, but they really just took out the fear in Resident Evil. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, didn't it like completely change genres? Like,
Well, yeah, it went from being like horror survival and shifted more towards action shooter horror,
yeah,
which is like
exactly.
really not where it's supposed to be at. You're supposed to feel like that tension of like turning a corner, you never know what's gonna be there, and now it's
Right.
just you have a gun with like literally ammo. Oh, sorry, no, with like very small ammo. Because I remember the problems with these games was that ammo, even like on easy mode, like really reserved. Like you couldn't find much ammo. So instead, you had what's it called? You had your melee, but your melee was broken in the games. You didn't even need a gun. So like
Pokemon gun.
Yeah. So like, why even bother having guns in a game when all you really needed to even finish the whole game was just your melee attack?
Yeah, that's a good point. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of just having range at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
Especially because the games became more oriented around the action than it did about the survival horror. So like, there were just so many zombies everywhere.
And like, speaking of the zombies, they were just really poorly designed. Like, they were so lazy. Like, from the zombies to like the other monsters in the game, they look so ugly, but not like cool ugly. Like, oh, the developer spent like what 20 minutes on this design, and it just comes out so bland. Let's take Nemesis from like the remake of RE3. Like, even Nemesis back in the day before his remake, he was intimidating. Like, when he popped on screen, you were scared because that man was gonna come for your life. Like, even now, like, even with Nemesis being a little more, easier to deal with in the new Resident Evil 3 remake, he's still a really scary thing to like just kind of encounter. Like, you hear him coming from like miles away. That was
Mhm.
that was great. Like, the new Resident Evil 5 and 6 monsters, like I said, they're just so bland looking. There's nothing scary about them. Like, when they pop on screen, they're more of an inconvenience, if anything. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think could have made this game a lot better? Like, what if you had to change like
So,
one aspect of it?
so personally, I never played the Resident Evil games.
Hmm.
I've tried to play them before, but from what I've seen in clips and stuff like that, I just think they just shouldn't have tried to get away from the roots. They just gotta either do what they did doing now is trying to put it more horror into it, put less of action sequences like they do in their own movies. I just think that's one thing they should have just changed overall. I think the people who were working on it didn't really have an idea of what Resident Evil was, especially with the staff that they had. I don't know. I just believe that they just didn't understand what they were trying to get with the game.
Which is really weird because like it was right after 4, and 4 was really well received, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
it
don't know.
was.
I don't know about at the time, but I know like today, like Resident Evil 4 is still considered by like most to be the best, if not like the second best Resident Evil in the entire franchise.
Yeah, no, like what
It's like
happened though is like, as like popular sales went up for like all these like adventure shooting games, like Resident Evil decided to hop on the bandwagon because like horror games started becoming like less popular. So they're like, oh, let's try doing more. Let's try putting more action to our games, and they did, and they people did not receive that well because of that.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, thank God they went back to their good working formula with RE7 and the new upcoming release of Resident Evil 8, still looking with that same horror survival formula. Like they're back on their good tracks, which is a really good news for like gamers out there that love playing their horror survival games, like me, because I love being scared to death in the middle of the night when I play the horror games.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole purpose of a horror game is to scare you. So
Oh, yeah,
if you ask me, it's
Consulting Village does the job.
yeah, we hope for that. Anyway, moving on to our next title, we're going to talk about one of the other biggest flops in video game history, Mass Effect 3. And oh boy, the bugginess of this game and the blandness of Shepard just went down the drain from Mass Effect 2, and that was very sad because I actually really like the Mass Effect trilogy. I actually played 1 and 2, and 2 was a bomb ass game. I love playing it.
Yeah, from my memory, Mass Effect 3 just didn't work.
Yeah, no, it,
If
it
I'm
went from like really lazy writing to making the characters just like literally. I've seen cardboard talk to each other, and it's almost more interesting than this. The character design is just really bad. Not character design. The character dialogue is like really stale. Like, the plot and the story was really lazily handled because it was the final game of the trilogy. It's like the big thing everyone's hyping up to look forward
Yeah,
to, and
exactly.
it just ended up being a really lazy, boring ending with the Reapers and everything. And you're just like, God damn it, I don't get it. Because like the
Yeah.
ending didn't make much sense either. You're just like, what happened? Wait, why?
Yeah.
Why did this happen?
Hmm?
No, I'm just saying, why did this happen? Like, just replying to what happened in Mass Effect 3. Like,
Why
it's just
did
like
this
they had such a
happen to
great
me?
lead with the first two games, and then later all of a sudden they just dumped it all in the fire.
Not even that, they added more stuff to to a Mass Effect 3, and like, and like I'm never against adding more stuff to a game, but like they added this what's it called? This RPG kind of
Element.
skill tree to the game, which was like really not sought very well. It was kind of weird to
It felt out
handle.
of place.
It fell out of place because like yeah, we kind of had it, but like it was just really bad in this game. Like I didn't like it, and like it's supposed to have like the weapon system, and the weapon system was like okay. I don't remember playing the game and thinking to myself like, oh, this gun is so much fun to use. I just thought to myself, oh yeah, this gun is better than my last gun. Sure, why not?
Hmm.
So
I understand that feeling.
yeah. So like what I think they could have done to at least make the game better is like keep the combat from like the second game, but just really polish it up. Because the game could have had some really good like combat to make up for like that really bad ending. Because like you only really need like two or three aspects of the game to be like somewhat kind of good for a game to overall get like positive reviews for it. Like you need your story just to kind of make sense. You need your gameplay to feel good for a game to be at least passable. But unfortunately, it
Right.
flopped on both these things. So you're like, oh well, this game sucks. What do you guys think? What do you
Right.
think they could have done?
Yeah, you take a Gabe. I
Oh,
haven't played it as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I never played Mass Effect. I've never played any of them. All I remember is all my friends complaining
Yeah,
about
that's
Mass Effect
basically
3.
what I remember.
I just remember
people
when that
really
game came out.
What
Yeah,
were you saying?
I just remember when that game came out. That was the same day as Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and I was mostly focused on that. So
Yeah, I just remember my friends complaining about the ending mostly. They didn't like that. Right, it was Mass Effect 3 that the ending is just what is it, blue, red, or green?
Yep.
Basically.
Yep. You had three
Yeah,
choices.
that was one
and
thing that.
no one
yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, that's what my friends kept complaining, especially one of my really close friends at the time, because he absolutely loved the Mass Effect series and everything it was about. And I remember the day he finished it, he just went on a whole rant for like 40 minutes. And we were in school at that point, so like he was talking over the teacher. But yeah,
Teacher, you don't
he said
understand.
he just
This
didn't
game
enjoy the
sucked.
game. Yeah, he definitely complained about, like you said, the character interactions and just characters not feeling like as fleshed out as they were in the previous titles. But it was mostly the ending that he was very upset about.
Yeah,
So
to end the trilogy on such like a split ending is just really it was a terrible design choice. But
it was safe.
it was
I think
safe.
that was the problem. It was definitely safe. They didn't want to
Like,
they didn't want to take a chance with making an ending that they wanted to make with the
but
possibility of people not liking it.
but that's the
So
problem though. Like
they made
one of
an
the
ending
endings
that,
were canon
yeah,
though.
exactly. So like they just decided instead let's make an ending for everyone so that there's the possibility that most people will enjoy it, and then ended up hurting them.
Well, of course. And unfortunately, we had Mass Effect Andromeda, and that was not a savior for the franchise. That just kind of
Oh
kept
my
it
god.
just down under for a bit longer.
it went way downhill.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny because again, I never played any of the Mass Effect games, but the most I've ever heard of any Mass Effect game, even more so than one or two or three, was Andromeda. When that came out, oh my god,
Mhm.
I felt like I played the game and I never picked it up because of how much I saw of it.
Yeah. Oh well. Who knows? Maybe down the line we'll see maybe like a reboot or reimagining of the Mass Effect genre, and maybe they'll make it good. But in the meantime,
Yeah. I was gonna say it's definitely not gonna be made by BioWare. I know that.
all right.
Yeah, especially since like BioWare did not have a good good resume right now, especially with Anthem failing.
Oh, poor Anthem. It looked nice, but I knew it was gonna be bad.
Yeah, I like Destiny 2, but not Destiny.
All right, so moving on to our next title here, we have one of the newer releases that came out only last year. Fallout 76. And the collapse of Fallout 76, which happened literally a month after the release of this game. The game was one of those games that you could only play this game if you had PS Plus, and I forget if you could play this game on Xbox, you need Xbox Live. So you can only play this game if you pay for those services. And the game advertised itself as being, open world. You can play with multiple people, but you really saw nobody in the open world. If you were just so lucky to encounter one person, you were like one of the very few that encountered somebody else. Yeah, but the game unfortunately suffered from a lot of release too soon syndrome.
I don't even know about that. More so like poor choices. Like why make a game like that online only?
Because they thought more people would play it, it would be a big thing. But on release of the game was met with dozens of different bugs that just made this game worse to play than it already was. It felt more barren than the other Fallout games. Like, and I said it before in a different review that it's a Fallout game,
right?
Like, it's supposed to feel barren, but this feels more barren than regular Fallout.
But like there were no NPCs, right? Like it was only active players.
Yeah, it was only active players.
Yeah. Like why would you do that? Like even if you think there's going to be a lot of people playing the game, that's like World of Warcraft being like, all right, no more NPCs, only players. It still would be terrible. Like, are you kidding me?
It also didn't help that the story for the game was also really boring as well.
I'm not gonna lie, there was a story?
Yeah, there was a story, and like a lot of players didn't play through the story because the game was boring.
Yeah, because there's nothing to do because you're the only one online, so like, who are you gonna talk to?
Exactly. And like, let's not forget, this game was also made by Bethesda, who has a history of just making really poor releases on day one with bugs and stuff. So that did not help it either.
But that's what I mean. Like, who cares about the bugs? I mean, it's a Bethesda game. There's always going to be bugs, right?
Well, yeah.
It's just like, how severe are they, and is the game worth playing? Like Skyrim or Oblivion, they have some bugs. They have some game-breaking bugs, but at the end of the day, they're still fun because there's still something to do. Fallout 76, if there's no one online, there's nothing to do.
Exactly.
And that's such a poor design choice. That feels like it was definitely a game that was doomed from the beginning. If they were gonna go ahead with that, it definitely wasn't a smart move at all. I think just making another Fallout game would have been smarter. Like if we got like Fallout 4 or 2, I think people would have been more happy with that because at least there would have been a game to play.
Like, I think personally for this one, like the game would have just benefited a lot if you just added like NPCs into the game. Like, it didn't have to be a lot of them, but like just adding like a handful of NPCs would at least made the game feel, like there's things to do here, like different missions and character developments and everything, all that stuff.
I mean, I think the game would have been fine if it was like a Fallout Online, like how they have Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah,
because that's what I kind of thought it would have been, but again, no NPCs. I still can't get over that. Like, why? What?
Listen, to have these kind of games
I can think of.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
How do you have an RPG without any NPCs? It's so ridiculous.
Well, they did update the game recently with a bunch of NPCs.
That's great. That's the No Man's Sky argument. The game is finally fixed 2 years later. I don't care. It took them 2 years. You don't deserve my money. I'm not gonna give you my money. Like that's like having a girlfriend or whatever, and then like something happens, and then 2 years later she texts you back and is like, "Hey, I atoned for my sins, so like we can get married now." It's like, no, that's not how this works. Like, it's too late. Like, the damage is done. And I have so many friends who are playing No Man's Sky and they're just like, just get the game when it's on sale. Like, I don't want to give them my money. Like, I don't care. It took you 2 years. If you were capable of releasing the game in the state that it was released in, then like I don't know. That there's just something wrong if you're like, yes, I can release this, and then it takes you however long to properly fix it.
Yeah, no, Gabe's right. I also agree with Gabe on the fact of like, since this game is multiplayer, you could have given it the same treatment as was the Final Fantasy 10 or what's the Final Fantasy that's online?
14.
14.
14.
This would have been a really good example if you gave it the Final Fantasy 14 treatment, where you made the game initially free to play up to a certain point, and then you pay real money to continue the game. That way, people wouldn't have to buy the game and have Xbox Live or PSN Plus to play the game.
Right.
Yeah, I see what you've been talking about.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
that
agree.
alone would have at least been like a saving grace for the game. That way, people would be more inclined to try it. And since it's a free to play game, people will be a little more forgiving with the bugs. Since it's free to play, you don't have to spend money for it.
All right.
Yeah. But what do you guys think? What else could have been done to make this a little bit better?
I honestly, everything I've seen from Fallout 76, it just has been a bad thing about it. Like, from models looking like really bad. Just the game online would always break on them. I just don't think it was a good game to begin with, and I don't know why they kept updating it.
That's a good point.
But
Yeah.
that's it I have to say for that topic. Hopefully, maybe with the next installment of the Fallout series, if there ever is going to be one, it's not going to be made online. Let's just cross fingers. I hope not. Or if it is made online, I just want the option of choosing to go online versus being forced to go online.
Yeah, that too.
All right. But moving on to our next title. Big controversy here between our friends. BioShock 2.
Alright,
Video game
okay, Gabe.
sequel to
Die
BioShock.
on this hill.
Alright, again, I must remind everyone that I don't think all these games are bad, but I'm just saying again that these are bad sequels to pre-existing games. And I say BioShock 2 is a bad sequel to BioShock 1.
Okay.
Gabe?
Okay, Gabe, go ahead.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah. As you can tell, Gabe thinks BioShock 2 is a bad game. So we're here to correct him why it's not a good game.
Okay.
Alright. So for my argument for BioShock 2 not being a good sequel is that its combat is almost identical to BioShock 1. The loot system in the game is not good. Even on the hardest difficulty of this game, there is ammo literally everywhere. You feel really slow throughout the game. I don't know what it is, but like your character's movement speed does not feel as fast as your original character's movement speed in BioShock 1. You just don't feel that fast.
Yeah, it's almost like your big daddy that's 7 feet tall and also weighs like 350 pounds. But
you don't have that suit throughout most of the time. You start off the game just like you don't even have the drill for most of the game.
You're still a big daddy. What? You're literally attached to the suit.
Like you're not the big daddy. You're like, what was it called?
Yes, you're Delta.
You're Delta. You're like the smaller big daddy.
No, you're a taller big daddy.
Yeah, but oh my god, the big daddies in the other games are huge. They wear like these gigantic round like sea diver outfits.
Because Jack is like an average height human, not in a giant suit. Delta was like, he is like mega big. He's so
big
tall.
Boy. Big Chungus, one might even say.
Big Chungus. Yeah. But to my argument, a sequel to a game should improve upon gameplay. And BioShock 2 feels very similar to BioShock 1. There's only one real big difference between the two games. You know, excluding the what were they called? I'm going to say tonics, but tonics was for infinite.
Oh, the plasmids.
The plasmids. was the plasmids. Besides the plasmids, the only real big difference in combat was that you had Big Daddy's drill. And I'm not gonna lie, Big Daddy's drill felt awesome. I like using it. It was lots of fun.
Yeah, it did. That
But
charge,
but-
that charge
but
made you feel like a literal boss.
It did. But that being said, gasoline for the drill was scarce, so you couldn't abuse it.
So your argument is there's too much ammo for other guns, and there's not enough ammo for this gun that I like using.
A, it's not a gun. B, if it's
Okay,
the only
whatever.
cool
It's a
thing
weapon.
of the game, give me more of it.
Literally just said the plasmids were really good.
No, I said the plasmids were different. Didn't say they were really good.
Terror's
they were
ass, okay, that's right.
Because the plasmids
Also,
are similar
Delta's
but different.
7'1".
Wait, what?
Delta's 7'1".
And 4 feet tall.
He's ginormous.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah, that's pretty big.
but there's also segments in the game that a lot of players didn't like. One particular segment that a lot of players had a very a very disliked part of it was the little sister segments where you had to protect the little sisters while they're harvesting atoms. And it
Adam, not Adams. It's just
Yeah.
Adam.
Atom. But it's really boring and it's not fun and it lasts too long. They're like 5 minutes each of you just putting a turret up or making a turret.
A what?
A turret?
A
A
what?
turret.
What?
A turret. A turret.
Yeah,
A
he says
turret.
turrets. Punish him.
A turret. You hack a turret, right? You put up some bombs and you just defend
Push him.
the
That's the
little
easiest
sister.
punishment on earth.
So for everyone who doesn't know, I have a hard time with the word turret. I always say
You can do it.
turrets.
Do
So
you say singer or do you say singer?
Are you done shitting on this great game?
look, again, I'm not saying that BioShock 2 is a bad game. There are a lot of worse games than BioShock 2. But BioShock 2 is not a good sequel to its predecessor being BioShock, where the story was, much more tricky and had better of a twist, and it felt like a complete story of Rapture. And this one feels like it was an add-on of Rapture, but it wasn't its own real individualistic
You
story.
wanted its own unique individual game.
Well, no, like you could still set it in Rapture, but there were multiple stories within BioShock 1
Mhm.
that felt like unique separately to your story of the main character in BioShock 1, while in BioShock 2 it feels more like an afterthought.
Okay.
And I also must remind you that BioShock 2 had a multiplayer mode that everyone forgets about.
What? They had a multiplayer mode?
It had a multiplayer mode.
I
And
didn't
we're
even
not
know
going to
that.
talk about how bad that multiplayer mode was because it was literally an afterthought. Someone goes, let's just add a multiplayer mode. People love that. And then added one and didn't think about making one, actually.
Hmm.
I will concede that is 100% true. The multiplayer in that game was literal, like it was literally an afterthought. Like they put zero effort into it. It should not have existed, and it did not need it in the slightest.
No, I don't understand why there even was a multiplayer mode in a BioShock game.
Dude, at the time, they were just like, should we put in a multiplayer like thing? And they're probably just like, yeah, Call of Duty has it.
Yeah, Call of Duty has it.
You gotta remember this came out like, and not to say Call of Duty isn't still like reigning supreme, but this was back in like Call of Duty was in everybody's library, like literally everybody. Granted, Call of Duty still makes they still sell more copies every year, don't they? I don't know if sales has dropped for that, but anyway, is that it?
All I heard was I concede BioShock 2 had
I will say though, you know what's a good sequel to BioShock 2?
Oh,
A prequel.
The prequel.
I was gonna say if you say Infinite, you're actually wrong.
Well, Infinite's actually better.
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
I think so too.
You wanna know
And
why?
it's 2-1.
You wanna know why? Because okay.
I personally think
Infinite literally has the same issue that you were complaining about. It's way too easy. Like the only difficulty about Bioshock Infinite is when you play it on the highest difficulty, and then everything just one shots you. Ammo is literally ammo is literally just given to you. Like Ellie literally gives you ammo.
You know, he's right. I do
gives you
give
health.
that.
She gives you.
Wait, did you say Ellie?
Ellie?
Oh,
Good job.
my
Ellie?
God, the last
Good job. Good
What
job,
was her
buddy.
name again?
Good job, kiddo.
But I'll
that's
give it
it.
to Gabe that the game does give you a lot of free stuff. Like
That game is so easy. It's not even funny. And also, you only get 2 guns.
you get to hold
Like-
2 guns.
Yeah, okay. I don't care. That's still stupid. That's still so annoying. Like, literally the first 2 games, you get an entire arsenal, and you can't make the argument that, like, Bioshock 2, you were Big Daddy, he got big pockets. Like, no, Jack had, like, you know, he was Link from The Legend of Zelda. His pockets were infinite. He just had everything around his belt. But apparently Jack couldn't do it. So, like, or Booker. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind.
Booker
Who's
to it,
Jack?
bro.
Jack? Are you talking about Jack and Dexter?
I don't know who I'm talking about. Oh, Jack from Bioshock 1. Oh my God. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, I think Bioshock 2 is a fantastic sequel because one of the cool things about Bioshock 2 is that most, if not all, the people that you have to deal with throughout the story are people from your past. In Bioshock 1, they're literally just random psychos that you have to deal with that have just gone crazy because of Adam.
Yeah, but
in
the story
Bioshock
makes
2,
sense.
in Bioshock 2, it's actually people that matter to the character you are playing. From the beginning, you are going after to save your daughter, who is being protected by her mother, and you have to go and literally atone for your sins in a bunch of different situations. Like, I forget who that one woman is in the living area, but she was the caretaker for your daughter. And she always saw you as a giant monster because you were a big daddy and because of what you did to keep her safe. And she thought you were literally just a monster. And then seeing what you do the entire time that you go up until you finally meet her, she realizes how wrong she was and how you're actually a kind-hearted and like sentient being that truly loves his daughter. And she literally sits right there and she's just like, you get to choose my fate because I was wrong, and you get to prove to me if you're actually just a homicidal maniac, or if, like, you know, no. She like actually asks you to kill her because of something that happened. I forget what, because I think she conspired against you, and she was one of the people that helped like knock you out. But then it ended up getting your daughter kidnapped or whatever. But it doesn't matter. The characters that you like go up against in Bioshock 2 are actually interesting, and they're actually fleshed out. In Bioshock 1, I don't know if you remember, but the first person you have to deal with is a surgeon who's just completely insane, and he just thinks everyone is disgusting until he disfigures them. Like, it doesn't add anything to the story, it just shows you how crazy people are. And that's kind of like everyone you deal with, other than Andrew Ryan and fuck.
Are you talking about the
Whoever
painting guy that put you in clay? Or, sorry, wax?
No.
He was pretty cool. I like this part.
Eh.
Ouch. Yeah. But that argument's all in good and sound at all. Only if you take the good path. And me, renegade for life, boys, we killed all the little sisters.
Oh my God,
Strangled the
dude.
shit out of them. Give me your Adams.
You just ate all of them. Fucked them all up.
But like, I liked in Bioshock 1 where if you, depending on if you chose to save the little sisters or kill them for their atoms, you'd get different abilities. That was really cool. Because if you killed the little sisters, you just had more atoms for upgrades. But if you chose not to, later in the game they gave you like the ability to hypnotize Big Daddies so they could be on your side. And that was pretty neat. But anyway, I think it's everything about this topic. We talked about Bioshock enough. Moving on. No.
Being another tank and being able to just 1v20 everyone is not a bad thing. Sure,
No,
it's not that
it's
scary,
not.
but
No,
it's amazing.
it's not a bad thing. That is, like I said before, the coolest part of that game is that you're a big daddy, and when you're allowed to be a big daddy, you go in. You go in dry, and they can't say anything about it. That's
Also,
cool.
Infinite is.
But
Anyway, continue.
all right. So moving on to our next title, we have Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2. And let me tell you, I don't think this is a bad game. I know it's a bad sequel, but I don't think it's a bad game. We're gonna talk about that right now.
Man,
All
you
right.
got games I've never played before, honestly.
No, it's alright.
I will say this though, I've never watched Star Wars.
Okay, who are you? What? Where'd you
Hi,
find this guy?
nice to
Where'd you find this guy?
hi, nice to meet you. Name's Edwin. I used to go to school with all of you.
You
You've really never seen any of the Star Wars movies, though?
I've never seen the Star Wars
He's
movie.
never heard
That's
of Star
fine.
Wars.
I mean, that's perfectly fine.
But
So wasn't this the game that I was talking about like a week ago, where like you had to pay to play the game?
Force Unleashed?
Yeah,
We,
I don't know, because I never played any of the Star Wars game post Lego Star Wars for the Game Boy
You're
Advance.
thinking
so-
of
Post Lego
Battlefront
Star
2, and we're gonna talk about that in a couple of games. No,
Oh, okay.
Force Unleashed 2 was the sequel to Force Unleashed 1, where you played as Starkiller, who was taken in by Siths and trained to be a Sith Lord, if I'm correct, or
Yes, 'cause
Yes.
I believe he was just a prodigy of like using the Force and whatnot, and Darth Vader
Mhm.
took him in as his own pupil.
who was this character model based off of? Because I know him as the actor who played in Being Human. He was the vampire. I forget who his name is.
No idea what you're on about.
But because the character design for Starkiller was based off that actor, and honestly, it's a pretty good design for Starkiller because he has one of those like faces that looks like it's always angry. It's pretty great. So, because Force Unleashed 1 was considered a pretty good game for like Star Wars because it both worked in the canon and not canon version of for the Star Wars story. And honestly, it played really well and had some good deep moments in it. And one of the main complaints they had with the Force Unleashed 2 was that the game was really short compared to the first one. And your character of Starkiller, the entire game you spend debating whether if you're actually Starkiller or a clone of Starkiller, and you're on this journey to find June, this one girl, which, if I may say, you never get to her throughout the entire game. You never find June, and your entire purpose of playing The Force Unleashed 2 is to find June.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily.
I thought
No.
It depends on how they handle it, because like, so one issue, one thing is that I played the original Force Unleashed. I played it back like, I was probably like middle school. I don't know when, but that game is amazing, and I love Starkiller. Starkiller is like one of the most badass characters in all of Star Wars lore. Like, he is fucking strong as shit. He's fucking cool.
Yeah, there's a scene in the first game where he's literally shifting a Star Destroyer from the sky, and it's so badass. He's like moving it with the Force. I'm just like, ooh.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Samuel Witwer.
pretty nutty.
Oh, so Rick, it wasn't just an actor; it's his voice actor.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's him. I'm telling you, his character design is him, and it's really cool. Because he has that angry face.
Yeah. Yeah, I never played the second one. I just remember when the second one came out, I was really hyped for it, and then I never heard anything about it.
Because I played the second one. I played both because I really liked the first Force Unleashed game because Star Wars was cool when I was a kid, and Star Wars still is cool. But as a kid, when you're able to control someone who can just freely use the Force as Starkiller did, it was so much fun. But like in this game, like before, Starkiller was like a really deep character, and he had like a lot of like things and problems he had to kind of like solve on his own and mature through that. And then they made him boring in Force Unleashed 2. His entire dialogue is him bitching and moaning over June and whether he's a clone or not, just for the ending of the game to be you fighting clones. And you're like, oh well, I guess everything you talked about, doesn't matter if you're a clone or not, means nothing when you fight clones.
Wasn't there supposed to be like a third one supposed to come out or something like that?
I don't actually know. There's supposed to be a third one on release.
I mean, probably wasn't it made by EA?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Also, something that made this game also really bad was that your force powers were really broken. Like, force
Oh, is that
powers
right?
were already broken, but honestly, you could have progressed the entire game like I did without ever really having to use your lightsaber. You could just force push everyone off like the edges, and that was kind of all you needed. And don't get me started on force lightning, because if you got force lightning and maxed that shit out, then
I remember that.
you never need to fight anybody. You just force lightning the entire room and everyone died.
I remember that in the first game. Like, it actually was just like the biggest AoE thing in the entire world, and you literally just one shot.
It is,
so
and they made it more broken.
That's honestly, I don't care about that. That's amazing. Also, yeah, there was supposed to be a third game, but then when Disney bought LucasArts,
Oh right, Disney bought.
and they just redid the whole canon. It feels bad.
Yeah. Like, they added a whole bunch of different combos you can do with the lightsaber in the game. Like, I remember, like, there's a tutorial once you can do one of like the 100 different like lightsaber combos, and you never need anything more than mashing square. So
Yep.
Oh, yeah, right.
it was just a waste of data at that point. And something else, something that really bothers me about the second game was that they did dirty to my boy Vader. They did him dirty.
How's that?
Because Vader is supposed to be the big bad of Star Wars. Like, when you go against Vader, that is death incarnate. And they made him a little bitch in Force Unleashed too. Like, you beat Vader twice in this game.
What?
You beat him twice. And both times he plays like a bitch. And just like in the very final boss fight, when you fight Vader and your own clones. And then you never really fight them at the same time. You just kind of fight Vader, get him to do some damage, and then the clones come. You fight the clones, kill the clone, then you go back to Vader. And it's just like, Vader doesn't need help. Vader is a boss, and you need to make him a fucking boss.
Yeah. I mean, Anakin or Vader, he's literally like just one of
Well
the
played.
strongest people to ever, like, use the Force. Like, unironically, like him, Yoda, and like Obi-Wan were like. Oof. The movies and games don't generally do them justice.
I'm
Especially Vader.
gonna take one thing on that stab though. In the end of Rogue One, you had the best Darth Vader scene in all of Star Wars, where you just see him in the end of the hallway on the ship, and he just turns on his lightsaber, and then he just fucks everyone up in the hallway.
Yeah.
That's the best Vader scene you're ever gonna get. Watch that. That's a good scene. You don't have to watch Rogue One, but watch that scene. But yeah, so the game, like I said, unfortunately, The Force Unleashed 2 was a bad sequel to Force Unleashed. The game was too short. I think the game could have benefited off 2 extra planets where you could have visited. You could have taken out a whole bunch of different sequences that were not needed for this game. And I don't think the argument of whether you're a clone or not a clone was a bad concept to tackle, but that final boss fight should not have had clones in it, because it just made the entire debate pointless. And Star Killer's whole obsession with June honestly didn't make much sense, and wasn't really warranted for you to continue the story of looking for June versus the story of like figuring out if you were a clone or not. Because I think that story could have worked better if they just rewrote it, with better material.
Yeah, that's the bane of many games. They just don't have good writing.
Yeah, but I think since only you and me were the ones that played the
Yeah,
original
I'm
Force
sorry.
Unleashed,
I don't have much
no one
input
else
on
can add
that.
to it.
I mean,
Star
I'm
Wars.
not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure The Force Unleashed 1 and 2 are both on Steam, and
Oh, is that right?
I've been considering buying them for like a long
Are they
time.
on sale though? Because the summer sales have started.
I could check.
Like, for you two, I highly recommend buying at least the first one off Steam, because it's a really good game.
Is it?
It is.
Well, that's also if it works.
True. But is a really cool. There's a cool thing in both Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2 where you can change your lightsaber color, and there's the black lightsaber, and I don't know how that really works because light doesn't radiate black, but it's still cool as hell.
So they're not on sale, but they're $20 each.
Are they
Oh,
not?
okay.
First one worth it. Second one, don't even try. All right, to the next topic. All right, so big controversy here between everyone who loves this franchise. I apologize, but this is my honest opinion and needs to be said. Dark Souls 2 was not a good sequel to Dark Souls 1. Don't hate me. I love Dark Souls 2. I started my journey into Dark Souls with Dark Souls 2. I know all the flaws of Dark Souls 2 and all the good parts of Dark Souls 2, and I can say with a clear conscience that Dark Souls 2 is a bad sequel to Dark Souls 1. Again, not a bad game. It's a really good game. If you haven't played it, go play it. But let's talk about why it's a bad sequel.
I have played a bit of Dark Souls 2, but I just can't beat them. I think they're really hard for me. I don't understand why, but they are.
Okay, so I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie, Rick.
All right.
I'm pretty sure this segment you're just gonna talk to yourself.
Yeah, go ahead. Pop off.
I think we're gonna just go
100%
along with it.
I can talk to Edwin. He said he couldn't get through the bosses in Dark
Dude,
Souls 2.
I got into the first part, and everyone. I remember bringing Dark Souls 2 to the arcade because I was like, I'm gonna play Dark Souls 2.
That's not the right decision to make.
And then everyone in the arcade at the time kept saying, "What you doing, Ghost Boy? You just losing. You dying. Get out of here." And that's how it was.
Single player games to the arcade. I learned that the hard way when Nier Automata came out.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I played. So my first experience in I don't even know if it was Dark Souls 2. Is Dark Souls 2 the one that you start out and then you like go into like a tree or whatever, and there's like old witch people or whatever?
Yes, that's Dark Souls 2 when you meet the witches.
Okay, yeah. That was the first Dark Souls experience I ever had, and I got out of the cave place, and I don't remember what happens after that because I don't think I played after that.
All right. So Gabe might be right. I might be talking about this by myself for a little bit because I'm a big fan of the From Software and all their titles. I will play all of them, and as soon as Demon Souls Remake comes out, I'm going to platinum that game as well. So
You should record it and stream it and then put it on the channel.
Put it on the internet.
you will probably see my me streaming to platinum Demon Souls. So we'll get to that later. But in the meantime, for Edwin's comment, get good, sucker. And Dark Souls is the epitome of the get good comment because there is no difficulty setting for Dark Souls. You just have to get better.
Almost like originated there.
I'm not gonna say originated there, but it is a heavy influencer of that one. But all right, so Dark Souls 2. Reasons why Dark Souls 2 is a bad sequel. First off, story. Now, Dark Souls 2 again doesn't have a bad story, but in the timeline of Dark Souls 2's story doesn't fit in the timeline between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3. So it is own separate. Yeah, there is a timeline. So the Dark Souls games have their own really, really big world of lore. But are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah, the Dark Souls game has a huge amount of lore to them, but it's not told to you. It's one of those experiences where you have to look for the lore, listen to the captions, and you get a lot of lore from reading the in-item captions. So, between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2's lore does not affect Dark Souls 1 or 3. So it is its own separate thing from there. Secondly, and even if you are a big fan of Dark Souls 2 and you hate me for even putting Dark Souls 2 in my bad games sequels list, you have to admit that the human effigy system is utter trash and it sucks. So, to explain that system, in Dark Souls 1 and in Dark Souls 3, when you died, right, you lost all your souls, you got respawned the last campfire or bonfire, and you had to go back to where you died, hopefully not dying again, and collect your souls. Because if you died before you collected your souls would vanish into the abyss, and you'd cry. The same thing happened in Dark Souls 2, except in Dark Souls 2, when you died, a small portion of your maximum health would decrease with every single death. So it would decrease up to half your full health bar.
Oh, I remember that.
And it's garbage. I hate it. Everyone hates it. No one likes it. It's the worst thing ever. Because the appeal of Dark Souls games is that you go to a boss fight, right? And that boss is a brick wall. And then you hit your head against that brick wall until, it breaks. But in Dark Souls 2, as you hit the brick wall with your head gets slightly softer with every hit. And trust me, no one likes going into a boss fight with literally half their health and they can't get it back unless they use a very specific item that is very scarce throughout the entirety of the game that would let you go back into your human state, refilling your full health bar.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were gonna say no one likes going into a boss fight with a soft brain or soft head or something like that.
Also true. But yeah. So, because the item was so scarce, you had to really save it for boss fights. So you'd sometimes traverse whole areas with only half your full health bar, which made going through those areas really hard because certain enemies at higher levels or the more difficult areas could one-shot you at half health. So you had to be really careful or be really good at the game where you would die very rarely.
Would you say you would have to get good?
You'd have to get good, exactly. Another thing I don't like about Dark Souls 2 is the weapon deterioration system. So, it was improved upon in Dark Souls 3, and it was changed from Dark Souls 1. So, in Dark Souls 1, you had a weapon, right? Your weapon and your armor, with time, would eventually deteriorate and break. So you'd have to go to a blacksmith, right, in Dark Souls 1, use your souls as currency, and get your stuff repaired. They changed that in Dark Souls 2, and in theory it was a better system, and it wasn't. So what changed was that your weapons now would have their full durability restored at every campfire. But in exchange, weapon deterioration was a lot faster. So weapons would break faster, and armor would break faster if you went to an area that didn't have a bonfire for a long time. So let's say you spent 25 to 30 minutes in an area killing all the enemies, you have the chance of your sword just breaking, and then you are out of a weapon. And to repair them, you had to spend like a decent amount of souls, and it was just not a good system. They improved upon this in Dark Souls 3, where the weapon deterioration system was the same, except the rate of which it deteriorates changed. It was a lot slower than it was in 2. And the last thing I want to talk about that I thought Dark Souls 2 was not a good sequel was I don't like the boss fights.
Why not?
Alright, so they're not horrible boss fights, but 90% of boss fights in Dark Souls 2 I can sum up as a dude in armor. There were
So is it just it's not the fight themselves, it's just the design?
Yeah, like the fights are still boss fights in Dark Souls. They're still fun boss fights. Except for the chariot boss. For everyone who knows me, I hate this boss. He's boring, annoying, and I hate him. He's the worst boss in Dark Souls 2, and you will not change my mind about that. But most bosses in Dark Souls 2, you can just sum up as being a dude in armor. And like between Dark Souls 1, where you had a lot of different like designs for bosses, between what was that? What was the first boss? Like the first demon even that you fight in the first Dark Souls that pops up like 5 minutes into the game. He's even like a better design than most boss fights in Dark Souls 2. They're all just like remnants of Dark Souls 1, but they're just dudes in armor, and you get sick of fighting a dude in armor. Like one of the more creative boss fights in Dark Souls 2 ends up being against like the big spider, only because it's a spider. It looks different. And he wasn't even one of the main bosses. You could honestly maybe even like void it if you like really tried. But like I said, most boss fights in Dark Souls 2 is just some dude with armor, and it becomes very repetitive at looking at them. Not saying they're all easy. Like the boss fights get harder. Like the Mirror Knights going towards late game ends up being one of the coolest boss fights in Dark Souls 2. And again, it's dude in armor, but he's a really cool boss fight. But those are my main complaints with Dark Souls 2. That's why I don't think it's like a good success for Dark Souls 1, but again, not a bad game. Sorry everyone if I'm going on my own little
No,
tangent.
you're good, man. I'm just literally listening, and I'm like, maybe that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, it's still like a really good game, and I think if you just change the human effigy system, the game itself would just be a lot better. Because taking away that inability to like lose max health as you die, honestly, just would make the game a lot better, as well as maybe tweak some of the boss fights to be a little more imaginative. Yeah. But I digress. That's everything I have to say about Dark Souls 2. If you guys want to say anything, just let me know. Other than that, I'm going to move on to the next topic.
Dark Souls too hard.
Dark Souls 2
Dark
hard.
Souls 2 hard.
That's funny.
Yeah. Just wanted to let you know, though, Rich, I got a few more minutes left because I do have to wake up early tomorrow.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I only have a couple more games left on my list, so if you want to hop out soon, just let me know, okay?
Yeah, if anything, I do want to talk about Sonic 06. If we.
All right, in that case, I'll skip the Battlefront 2 and I'll hop on Sonic 6 right now, so you can join us for a
Yeah,
okay?
because if Battlefront 2 was coming in, the only thing I know about is the loot boxes, and then that's it.
All right,
Yeah.
No problem. So,
Sonic 06 is very dear to my heart.
all right,
Very,
so you take over.
very dear to my heart. It is one of those games that I played a lot when I first got my PS3.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the one game I truly wanted. I wanted that game for the trailers that showed up for it, like the advertisements, everything for it. And that was around the time when I was truly getting into Sonic. Because I think around 2004 was when I truly got into it, because it was Sonic Heroes that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And when Sonic 06 came out and that trailer was showing off, I was like, oh man, it has such great graphics, has such awesome it looks just so cool. It just looks so cool. That was 7-year-old Edwin.
Mm-hmm.
Then the game came out, and I remember buying it on I bought it with the PS3.
Wow.
I bought it with the PS3. That was the one game I was hyped for. 2006 was going to look great for Edwin back in that day. And I played it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it like crazy.
You enjoyed Sonic 06.
I had so much fun. No. I'm going to tell you. That's why I'm telling you the history about it. I enjoyed the crap out of it. The intro, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
The music, fucking amazing.
Yes.
The load times, didn't know it was a thing because I didn't really pay attention much. But I spent a lot of time playing that game that I 100%ed it back when I was a kid.
Oh, you 100% of that game?
Yeah.
30% of your time was in a loading screen, right?
Yeah. So when a few years ago, I let my friend borrow my game and he never gave it back.
As friends do.
For Sonic, and I was so devastated by it. But when I was working at GameStop and I noticed that someone traded it in a PS3 copy of it, it was going for sale for $20 for Sonic
Jesus
06.
Christ!
I was like,
they ripped you off. $19.99.
I don't know. I didn't care because I was like, oh man, I remember loving this game. I don't know what's all the hate for it. I didn't know. I didn't know what the hate for it was. I'm gonna see how much it costs now, but I didn't know what the hate was, so I bought it. I bought it again on a GameStop. Put it back in, charged up my controllers, and got back into the game. And the first thing I noticed was the loading screen, and God, it was so long. I was sitting there thinking to myself, "What is happening? Why is this taking like 30 minutes just for one cutscene?" And then later
And
you
then
get
another one after it. Yeah.
and then another one after, and then later you watch that. I watched the intro again, and the intro's still godlike. But you get that intro, and then you get to the cutscene afterwards, and the models are dropped dramatically. Like they look like trash. They
I
look
remember that.
Play-Doh custard characters
Yeah,
that I didn't know. I didn't notice as a kid, but now when you look at it, I just, oh man, I was naive. I was
you were
very.
naive now. Going to like, oh, that live action intro was so good. I saw Eggman's eyes. I should never see Eggman's eyes. B, Eggman had golden nipples.
What's wrong with the golden nipple?
No, don't ask me that question. What's wrong with the golden nipples?
What's wrong with the golden nipples, bro?
There's everything wrong with the golden nipples. Eggman should not need golden nipples. They were just like, they were on his nipples, just gold rings. I remember looking at that, thinking to myself, why? But I digress. Keep going.
Oh, look, and then afterwards, I played the story, and I didn't remember what the story was. I remember playing the game just to play the game, and I was just a fucking kid that 100% of it. I don't know how.
Patience was insane.
The patience was very insane. I think it was like the one game I had because my mom wouldn't let me buy another game.
He
For a
didn't know
long
better
time,
back then. Forgive him,
But
viewers.
I bought the $600 PS3.
Oh.
That was the
splurging.
60 gigabyte one that could play PS2 games. So I kept playing the old PS2 games and then Sonic 06. But I
Mhm.
played it, and I remember just seeing like how crappy the levels were. The camera was so trash. Sonic's voice acting was not great. The only good thing about the NPCs was Sonic Man. And there was just so much potential. So much goddamn potential. Because I remember looking back at the E3 videos, and it looked crazy. It still looks crazy to me, honestly. I love Sonic's design from 06. I love the setting that the game was based around and everything like that.
Mhm.
But just everything else that happened during development just was thrown out the window, and I feel so sad, like about it. I felt so bad, and and it sucks too because this Sonic 06 has that design that works well with the PS3 at the time, the fat one.
Mhm.
That is like, oh, it matches so well with the PS3. I can't wait to play this game. And now looking back to it, I'm like, well, at least we got to get a fan dub out of it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, boys. Why do you think there were so many loading screens, or do you know the reason why there were so many loading screens in the game?
I
It was
heard
bad.
that it was just it was just bad loading screens. I heard it was also rushed to hell because it was supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out in 2006, but the development team were rushed by Sega to release it. That they just worked on whatever they could and dropped it like that. They said there was a lot of them saying that they would have easily like polished it like crazy. They were begging for the delay up to 2007, but nothing came through with Sega, and they just released it like that.
So they just rushed it, yeah.
They rushed it like that. Like if you watch some of the E3 footage of the game, it looks entirely different. Like the game
Right.
looks beautiful.
I have played a bit of the game because I was at my buddy's place, and he had it. I don't know if he plugged in the PS3 or if he had it in an emulator or something. But literally, like, he fires up this game, right? Now, I've only played a few Sonic games in my life. I only own a couple of them. So I'm like, all right, cool. It's like a Sonic game, you go fast, right? So he's like, all right, you and me are gonna play this game. I was like, okay. And he's like, no, you understand. You don't understand. We're going to play a game. We're going to count how many loading screens we get from starting a new game. I was like, okay. And I didn't really think much of it because I didn't really frequent Sonic.
You're hurting me, dude.
So what happens is he counts them, and the game continues, and I'm like, okay, there's a few, And by the time we get to the first level, I think we counted 6 loading screens. And he's like, "All right, did you count the time on those too?" And I was like, "I don't know, but it's fucking long." And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, that sucks." And he's like, "Yeah, welcome to this game, my guy."
I remember there's one clip that I saw on YouTube where someone talked to one of the NPCs, loads up the challenge of the NPC.
I know
NPC
exactly what you're talking
explains the NPCs
Yep.
explains the challenge.
Yep.
Loads up again. Does
Yep.
the level, beats it in like a few seconds. Loads the NPC. NPCs, wow, great job. Loads again. NPCs, here's your money. Loads again, and you're back out onto the hub.
That's right.
And I just died. I was just
Yeah. Yeah, you're just not allowed to play the game.
you're just not allowed to play the game, and I just, oof, man.
So let's talk about the one good thing Sonic 06 had.
Music,
Music.
music.
No, the music slaps. I'm not gonna lie, the music slaps.
His World is one of the best songs, and I will die to it. Like that shit.
While
slaps
playing the game.
so hard. That shit, when Sonic was added to Smash, I remember just having going on Green Hill Zone and always blasting any of the Sonic songs, and I still do that today. I will play Rooftop Run. I will play His World. I will play even a Sonic Secret Ring song. Anything made like the music for Sonic alone slaps.
Yeah, no, I'll give him only that. It's the good. It's a good sound.
Anthony said no.
No, tell him. Go off.
I'm saying
You're
fucking,
right.
like,
I am
you got
agreeing with you.
Sonic Mania. You got Sonic Heroes, Sonic Adventure. You got Sonic Generation with those remixes. Those remixes to the fucking maps when they go retro. Oh, dude, I could go for hours listening to their soundtrack, and I'm hoping that because Sonic's 30th anniversary just happened. No. He's 29 now. It's next year. Next year's 30. Next year's 30 because it's 91. Next year's 30, and they usually do a whole like anniversary game. And in 2012, it was they did a year off, but basically that was his 20th anniversary game. That was Generations. 2015 was supposed to be, or no, 2016. What was 2016? Was that Sonic Forces? No, that wasn't Sonic Forces. That was Lost World, and that was crap. So there's a thing going on basically saying if you have a Sonic game, it's going to be good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, and then we got two bad. We got a good one, which was Sonic Mania, and then we got a bad one, Sonic Forces, and the next game has to be a good one.
Has to be. It might be a tradition.
But that's the thing. That's usually how the and I don't want it to be that, but that's usually how it works. Usually, it's always been good, bad, and they mess with Sonic so much, man. I am a diehard Sonic fan. I will be his number one, one of his number one fans, no matter what. Like Sonic is dear to my heart, and if I see that the next game is trash again, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Because I was so hyped for Sonic Forces because they connected it to Sonic Mania by that ending sequence. But if you get the true
they
ending,
let you make a playable character, and it always looked creepy as hell.
And exactly, and then I was like, why did they Generations is so good, and you added Sonic, the retro Sonic to Forces again, but now he's even clunkier. Like, what the hell happened? Like, I played Sonic Forces, I got so bored of it. The levels were way too short. I will say Sonic Forces songs suck. It's the only game that sucked was the songs. It just sucks, man. I don't want to create a character. I just want to play Sonic.
Exactly.
I feel that,
before we end this topic, let's talk about one more thing about Sonic 06 that I cannot overlook because everyone that human kiss though.
I mean, so I'm gonna say something. When I 100%ed the game, I didn't watch the cutscene for the ending. I just skipped to Super Sonic. I skipped to Super Sonic because I was so excited to play Super Sonic. because I was told on the interwebs where it was like, if you do this, you get to play Supersonic. I was like, oh, cool, let's go.
Supersonic.
But when I replayed the game and basically watched that scene, I just cringed. Like this is the beginning of every furry that lives now. Because if anyone who has played Sonic 06 when they were younger, and they got pretty horny out for that, then they're furry now.
I remember when I first saw it, I was saying to myself, no, stop it, no, ew,
this
turn
isn't
TV
natural.
off, take game, burn disc, pretend like it never
It's
existed.
not natural.
It's not.
Imagine having your furry awakening because Sonic 06 human kiss.
Yeah.
Bro, have you not seen their fucking OC characters? People are furries. People are furries just by watching that cutscene. All right, well, guys, I have to head out.
Thank you so much for joining us on our channel today on Select Start. I hope you
Thank
enjoyed.
you.
Maybe you'll come back some other time. But in the meantime,
Definitely
viewers,
not
check out his Twitch page down at eTechman100. And again, thank you so much. We'll see you later, all right?
Thanks, guys. Sorry I had to cut short, but I gotta go. So thank you, though.
No problem. Take care, okay?
You guys have a good night. Anthony, you suck at chess.
No, I don't. You got bodied 3 times. Go off.
All right, see you later, guys. Bye.
All right,
Later.
later.
Bye. He got bodied 3 times in chess.
Good job.
I'm proud of myself.
All right. Anyway, guys, we got 2 more games left on our list. Let's just get through them as quickly as we can. So we'll talk about Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Excuse me, I stuttered over my own tongue there for a second. All right. So Anthony, you brought this one up before. This is actually the game you were mentioning with all the microtransactions.
Yeah. So I talked about this last week too.
Yeah.
I never played the game. I just heard everybody bitch about it because I don't really play Star Wars games since like I haven't played them since I'm a kid. But like,
He's still a kid.
listen, if you're gonna release a Star Wars game, Darth Vader better be fucking available in
You're
one
right.
way or another. Right, because I'm pretty sure you have to pay like $80 to play one character that looks kind of cool.
Exactly, and then you only get to play him once.
Are you serious? You can only play him once?
Yeah, because like there's a limited amount of time you can play a single character. You have to really. This is very much a pay-to-win game, and having those microtransactions in a video game is a death sentence to like any video game, and could even be a death sentence to like these big corporations. Like a lot of people nowadays are very wary of EA because of all those microtransactions from their more recent titles.
I mean, for the last few years, EA has done nothing but make games to be greedy, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, they just make shitty games and people know they'll still buy them. I mean, this brings up a whole entire different topic with EA with like sports games and stuff, like Madden. Madden has always been shit, but like people are still gonna buy it because it's the only football game you can get. So
I'll make a podcast one day separate from this one about EA games. Let's get all the opinions through them.
Yeah,
but that'd be for a different day. But yeah, so on release as well, like most of these big AAA titles have been in the more recent years, the game was buggy as hell. Of course.
Oh, was it really?
It was
buggy too.
Of course.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, no, it's been really weird because recently a lot of AAA titles always get released with some sort of bug in them. Like, I've seen the playthrough of The Last of Us 2, and then we won't talk about on this guys because the game's still new, no spoilers. But like even for those games,
in the gameplays I've watched, there's been a few visual bugs here and there.
Well, yeah, because like it's so hard to polish out. But for those games, it's more understandable because they're such big projects, and like Battlefront, but Battlefront 2, which again, I'm not saying it's a small project, but it's not the biggest project. Still came out with more bugs than it actually was supposed to. And also, like the weapon system in the game was very unbalanced. Like, it really brings back that pay-to-win mentality of like,
I remember it being like super pay-to-win.
Yeah, no, because like if you didn't spend money in the game, then you were always on the losing team no matter what was happening.
Yeah, that sucks too. I mean, I also know they like time gated you out of like specific game modes in the game too. Like it's just not good. Like don't do that for a game that I'm gonna pay money to play, you know? Like I have to buy the game and now you're gonna time gate me so I can't play the game. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Well, like that defeats the whole purpose of buying a game. Like if I really wanted to do that, I'd just play a gacha. And that's why I don't play gachas. Like
yeah, no, I completely understand. And also,
So
yeah, go ahead.
pretty not good. That's all I have to say. Like I listen. I don't play Star Wars games. Last Star Wars game I played was Lego Star Wars for the Nintendo Wii. So
It's a good game.
I can't really say too much, but I mean, just on a general standpoint, like don't time gate a game that you're already selling.
Hmm.
Don't make it pay to win if you're already paying for the game as it is. I mean, general philosophies that the game just didn't follow.
Yeah, and like, because I didn't play Battlefront 2 either. I've seen playthroughs of Battlefront 1, and I've heard many, and I've read through many reviews of Battlefront 2. And like another thing I've learned from that was that the campaign for Battlefront 2 was also really boring.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, how does it stand up? Like, I mean, we're talking about bad video game sequels. So how does
Yeah.
it stand up to the first one?
So with Battlefront 1's release, the game was actually pretty okay. It was received decently well, and honestly had like a bit of following. And with Battlefront 2, the story is a lot blander than the first one. Because the first one was passably good. This one it was not. It's very like,
So it's just boring.
yeah, it's boring. It's like run the mill, like basic story you can get. And like I said, it doesn't really appeal. Like if they made the story at least more interesting for campaign mode, people could at least play the campaign and it'd be
Yeah.
at least there, and then you can kind of like ignore the multiplayer, even though it was made more towards being multiplayer. They also could
Yeah,
have
I
extended
know.
the campaign to make it longer and actually like a more full length game.
Right, and they didn't do that either. So
No, but yeah. But how about you, Gabe? What do you think about it?
I mean, you guys kind of hit on everything. They did they didn't time gate you in the sense of you couldn't play, but you didn't gain anything. So it's like basically like
oh, so
playing. You could still
so there's
play,
no
you just didn't get
intensity.
anything. So yeah. So basically, you're just playing to play. It's like imagine playing League of Legends, and then after 3 games, you just wouldn't get blue essence, and you wouldn't get experience to get your championship capsules to then get more blue essence and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
so
also
there's
with the
just
whole
no
Darth
intensity.
Vader thing, it's not that you only played him once and then you had to buy him again. It was you had to unlock him in order to get the option to then
That's what I mean.
possibly
To
to
unlock
possibly
them
roll. And I believe back when it came out, people did calculations on how much you'd have to spend to get
versus how
him.
much you'd have to play, right?
Yeah, and it was like an absurd number for, like you said, an iconic character, and it's still
But do
my
you
favorite
know? Do you
character.
know how many hours they would have had to play?
A disgusting amount. Like honestly, an absurd. Like there's a difference between having to grind stuff out to get something proper, like a dungeon crawler, kind of like Diablo or something like that. Like the whole
Mhm.
purpose of the game is to grind,
It's
but
just it's
this is
complete.
like
It
this is
just
like
revolves around character
yeah,
progression and nothing else.
this is like Call of Duty, but you're not allowed to get the best gun until you spend $300 on loot boxes or whatever, or
Stupid,
play the
dude.
game for the next 5 years when the next one comes out in one. Yeah, no, they had a terrible design philosophy with the loot boxes and all that. It was just
Clearly, yeah.
not
Like,
good from the
yeah, like
beginning.
loot boxes should like I don't like loot boxes, but if you're gonna have loot boxes, they should be really just reserved for like
Optional
reskins and
cosmetic.
like
I don't,
cosmetics.
yeah, I don't mind loot
Optional
boxes at all.
cosmetic.
It's
Yeah.
definitely Overwatch was the one in recent memory that did really really well because it's all skins.
Yeah,
There's
but
you don't need a loot box in Overwatch.
Overwatch also has like good PvP modes.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but
All right,
to each their own.
to each their own. But I'm
Wow,
saying
that's
in
a little
Listen, I don't
comparison,
play the game. Okay.
I'm saying in comparison to Battlefront PvP. Like, come on.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah,
like you said, there's still the pay to win feature. If everyone got the same thing or the same opportunity in Battlefront 2, it would probably be a little bit better.
exactly.
makes sense.
Plus, it's
Yeah.
Blizzard Entertainment that with Overwatch, and you know Blizzard, they're always late on the train for things, but when they release their stuff, it's always a big hit.
Back in the day, that would be true. Yeah.
Battle for Azeroth.
Yeah.
Ah.
Don't even get me started, dude. Because I'm playing BFA. As we speak, I actually am playing BFA, but in actuality, I'm just doing Burning Crusade content because it's a rep buff right now.
Right.
Like, That's a whole different
That game is
topic.
dead.
Game's garbage anyway.
Anyway, so moving on to our last topic of today's podcast, we'll be talking about Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Time to shit on this. Woo!
Alright. Now, again, I remind people, not a bad game, but a bad sequel. So it's so
This is one that I would argue that it's both, but yes,
Okay.
I'm in accord. I see what you're.
yes. So
Go ahead.
So, little history on Pokemon games. It's not uncommon for Pokemon games to get sequels from the same generation.
Right.
Ruby and Sapphire got Emeralds. Black and White got Black and White 2. Diamond and Pearl got Platinum. It's not nothing new as a concept. But
God tier game, by the way.
between good games. But between these games, something was always added to these games to make them better. Like in Emerald, for Pokemon Emerald, they added the sprites now had animations. That was a huge change for the game
Yeah.
because you went from having still images to moving images for Pokemon.
Oh no, that was Gen 5. Gen 5 is when they started moving. It just wasn't as like high res as Gen 6.
No, it was
Gen 6 was 3D models.
yeah 3D models.
Yes.
No, I'm
Yeah,
saying when the sprites first move, it was from Pokemon Emeralds.
Oh yeah. No, it wasn't. Pokemon Crystal.
Was it Crystal?
Yep,
Yes.
it was Crystal.
Yeah, Pokemon Crystal, they moved. Fire Red and Leaf Green, they didn't. Ruby and Sapphire, they didn't. Emerald, they had
right.
the 2 sprite animation.
That's right.
I believe they kept the 2 sprite animation for 4. Then 5, it was fully moving sprites. 6 and on, they're 3D models.
Oh, yeah, but what I'm
That's
trying
right.
to say is like between Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, they added the sprite animations, which was a big change in,
Yes.
for them.
Yes.
In
yes, that was a big change.
Platinum, they changed a lot between Diamond and Pearl. Like there was a whole bunch of like reworks on like certain abilities, like number changes, as well as like
That's true.
different. The story changed also as well between like
And
certain
for the
legendaries.
Yeah, it did actually. Right? It was a completely different story.
Because it was
It got
centered
really
around Giratina instead of the other 2.
Yeah.
Best legendary, by the way.
Yeah, and
Or at least one of them.
still mad they never made Pokemon Z because like, come on, it made sense.
It was so ripe. Like it was like, why didn't you? Like everyone was like, all right, where is it? And it never came.
Because X and Y can stay where it is.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't.
Look,
I mean, I
you're
think I put 400 hours on Pokemon Y. I have both of them, X and Y. I just played Y more, but I put like 450 hours on Pokemon Y. This is a person who has thousands upon thousands of hours on Pokemon games growing up. By the way, like probably collectively 4,000 hours combined.
Don't get me
Like,
wrong, I play a lot of Pokemon
play
too. Like, I get that.
Heck out of those games. But anyway,
Also, Black White 2 on God Tier remake or sequel. I like.
oh, Black and White too. It's a family recipe, you know.
Alright.
Those were really good.
You know that was great. Anyway.
Anyway, so my first complaint, and this is a personal complaint. You could disagree. I hate the name Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. They should have called it Solar Eclipse and Lunar Eclipse. Just a personal thing. I want to put that out on the internet for everyone to hear my opinion. I just want to say it right here, right now. Should have been called.
That's fine.
That you didn't pick up yourself.
They could have been more clever with it. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I mean,
it was perfect. Solar Eclipse and Lunar Eclipse. Literally, you had Dawnwing Necrozma, and I forgot the name for the Solgaleo. I didn't have the Solgaleo one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But come on, they both had black animations on them, or they were fused with Necrozma, which was the black Pokemon. It just made so much sense, and then they called it Ultra, and I was like, oh my god, I should be working PR for Niantic, who makes Pokemon games, Game Freak. I should be working for PR for Game Freak. Shut up, all right.
Yeah,
I've
who
been
makes
playing
the Pokemon games?
I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go people. So leave me alone. Game Freak. I should be doing PR for Game Freak. Anyway, I am a PR major. If you do see this video, hire me.
Yeah.
But
Clean.
very very smooth transition. But yeah,
smooth.
That's just my personal opinion for whoever wants to listen. But let's get to the nitty gritty of like why this was a bad sequel. So the very first complaint you will get from a lot of people between regular Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon is that it is very much the same game.
It was identical.
It was close to identical. Never 100% identical. There were changes made in Ultra Sun and Moon that were not in regular Sun and Moon, like the addition of those Team Galactic, was it? Those two people you meet,
Mhm.
and they just go out through the entire story of the game, and you get to fight them here and there, but never like a big threat. And then you have a whole change in like what's her name, Luminis.
I think.
Mommy.
Yeah, mommy dearest, right there. They change her motivations from being someone who's obsessed with Ultra Beasts to someone who wants to fight Ultra Beasts. So like her whole like persona was changed a lot for those games as well.
Oh, that's why it was called Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon for the Ultra Beasts.
Actually, that makes sense. Yeah. Good job, Gabe.
And
You did
also,
it.
just to add on that, they added new Ultra Beasts to the game, as well as one Ultra Beast that could evolve. Poiple into Naganadel.
Oh, you're right. So yeah, It goes to show you how much Gen 7 I played.
Mm-hmm.
By the
So
way, it was null. Like, I think I have 150, 200 hours in Pokemon Moon. I never even opened up my copy of Pokemon Sun, and then I have like 4 hours in Ultra Moon.
though I'm not gonna lie, I think Pokemon Sun and Moon, because like I said, the story is still very similar to Ultra Sun and Moon. It was the only Pokemon game to convince me to put Legendary on my team. Because as a kid, I thought putting Legendaries was cheating, but I got so attached to Nebby that I couldn't just put Nebby in the box. So
Yeah, it'd be like that.
I will
I
give
feel
it.
like everybody did that.
Yeah, I give it some credit. It made me feel towards a Pokemon that I haven't have felt like that before. If that wasn't my starter.
Yeah. I think Pokemon Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I think they did a good job with how they treated the the poster board game Legendary. Like, they really made it like, it wasn't kind of just like after the 7th gym you go and fight the poster board Legendary and it's your first Legendary of the game, because that was what they did for all the other games. What they did was they made the Legendary like a part of the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
For the entire story. So I did enjoy that. I thought that was pretty smart. Like, it was a nice breath of fresh air for the poster board Legendary. And I didn't really look on Cerebi, because normally when a new generation came out, I would go on Cerebi and just get a general idea of
Like all
what
the
evolves
Pokemon.
into what, all the Pokemon, what I should be getting. Like, I'll like normally I try to go for like 5 Pokemon at a time on my team. I never try to go for 6, because I don't know, 5 is just a nice round number for me, and then I just have like 1 HM slave. But
Oh, but you don't need that in like later. I made this
but
whole
you
thing
didn't
in my
need
rants
that. But I
actually.
still subconsciously do that. But
Yeah, no, like I made a video before about my
I
rants
yeah, I
of
know, I
Pokemon games.
watched it. But you know what I mean. Like, I'll still like subconsciously be like, all right, I still need a spot for like flexibility.
It's true.
So
Um, another thing I like about the Ultra Sun Ultra Moon that made different, because I made a rant before on my channel. It was called Pokemon games are becoming too easy. Just check it out if you haven't seen it yet.
which it was,
They
which it
are,
was.
they are. But my complaint was, because the games are becoming too easy, there's less of a challenge. But with the remake, when they released Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they actually made certain segments better. Like, one of the complaints I would have added, and I have right now to this day, is that Victory Road it's not that much of a challenge anymore like it was in the old games. Because in the old games,
Right.
you had to go through Victory Road like twice to go through Victory Road, because like you get lost in it, your Pokemon get weak, and then you have to, or you
Dude.
lose.
I think the first time I played through Ruby Sapphire, I think I went through Victory Road 3 or 4 times. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
and the
same right
first
here.
time I mean now, like, okay, this is somebody who's reset my copy of Fire Red 7 times, and I have 800 hours in my original copy of Leaf Green, and I still frequent it.
Exactly.
I mean, that game, Victory Road, I know like the back of my hand, dude. I know the whole map. Like, I could probably draw it out for you, like the entire 2D plane of the entire map, just because I've spent way too many hours playing Gen 3 games. I think I in that game I also completed the entire Kanto Dex. I completed half the National Dex. I completed the entire Johto Dex, and I just got bored after trading all the Pokemon from Ruby Sapphire. Like, I love Gen 3, dude. But the first time I played through Ruby Sapphire, that Victory Road, Yeah, that one was pretty confusing, and I
Yeah.
liked that it was confusing. You know,
Yeah,
I
because it
thought it
feels
really
good when you finally
felt
get through it. You get to the end of that tunnel, you're like,
exactly.
finally, I can challenge the Elite Four. I went through this journey. Because in Sun and Moon, it wasn't called Victory Road, it was called something else, but you basically went through the mountain to go onto the top to the peak, which, if I may
Mhm.
add, is the only area in the game which you can catch, like, ice-type Pokemon. Because I think that was, like, off the
Oh,
top.
that's stupid.
If my memory serves me right, I could be very wrong about this. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this, because I haven't actually touched my copy of Sun and Moon in a couple of months. But right now, with the change in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, it's a lot more fleshed out and feels like, a little better to go through it. So those are the couple
Well, that's
things
good.
I like that change in the game. But the things I don't like are just tend to be very obvious. The story changes very minimalistically between the first two games on the main campaign, as well as it was the first installment in the Pokemon franchise where in the same generation, when they make a new game, that they added new Pokemon to it. So
Oh, you mean like as they went? You mean?
yeah, because you know how right now
Yeah,
with
you're
Sword and
right. I
Shield they
do
have
remember that.
DLC. Yeah, Sun and
Didn't they
Moon.
like?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
into Ultra Sun and Moon was the first game they added new Pokemon because they never had that before.
Right, right. So you had to. So that's when I stopped playing Pokemon like every day. Basically, was when well, it was like that Magnet Pokemon, right?
hmm But I'm
Yeah.
saying,
So I don't even know what it's called, but yeah.
yeah, but I'm saying like if you're gonna release a whole new game, adding I think they only added four Pokemon to the new roster, and I
Mhm.
don't think a whole new game was needed for these four Pokemon to be added because it was three Ultra Beasts. It was Poipole, Blacephalon, and I always forget this one's name. It's the Rock Steel one that looks like a tower that has like
It's my boss's favorite. How dare you disrespect it?
I don't know its name. I didn't suspect it. How dare you?
Yeah, neither do I. Don't worry.
Yep. Okay, but it was those three, and then they had a mythical Pokemon, Zoroark, the electric one, and those are the
Oh yes, you're right. I remember that Pokemon.
yeah, those are the only four Pokemon they added. But realistically thinking about it, they could have really just added those three Pokemon through just like gift events and
DLC.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
DLC.
Well, not
Stack attack.
DLC, mystery
Like
gifts.
the free DLC, the mystery gifts
Yeah,
that I used to do when I was a kid.
yeah, they're
Also rare.
DLC. Yeah, what?
His name was Stack Attacker.
Stack Attacker. That was his name.
Yes,
That's why my boss loves them.
you're right, dude. I remember Stack Attacker. That I remember seeing that guy, and I was like, dude, that's the best name of Pokemon.
Yeah,
You
but
kidding
like
me?
what I'm trying to get at is like the changes they made to Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon via the first game. I don't think warrant a whole new game for them. Just like how X and Y didn't receive like a third copy Z, I didn't really think this game needed a new copy as well. Like the adding of the extra Pokemon's nice, but like I said, it could have been just um uh, mystery gifts or DLC added to the game.
Yeah,
Because as far as things
yeah, I
go,
follow.
like in the newest installment of Sword and Shield, which by the way, when they first announced real DLC, my jaw dropped because I was like, a Pokemon announced fucking DLC? Excuse me.
Yeah, so I didn't get. That was one of the reasons I didn't purchase Sword and Shield. One of the reasons being that it was $60, and I didn't want to pay $60 for a goddamn Pokemon game.
I mean, they're all 60
And
bucks.
the other one was I had to pay $20 extra to play the full game. So now I'm paying $80 for an entire Pokemon game.
Well, I'm gonna correct you right there
No.
because Sword and Shield is a full game. I think the DLC
Okay.
in Sword and Shield is exactly that, DLC. It's
Oh, okay.
content that can be added, but you don't need it. That being
Okay,
said,
good.
I like it.
Oh. So do you like the fact that there was DLC then? Is that what you were saying?
All right, so like to explain my full thought process on this, when they first announced it and I first heard it, I was shocked because I never thought there was gonna be a time when a Pokemon game was gonna have DLC. But the
Mhm.
more I kind of waited it out and thought about it, I realized that yes, Pokemon Sword and Shield was an easier experience than any of its predecessors because the game felt shorter and didn't feel like, you went to that many new places, even though it was a fully fleshed out Pokemon game, because you fought the gym leaders pretty quickly. But the DLC
Right.
for it, adding a whole new area to a game, actually reminds me of when you bought Emerald and you had Battle Frontier unlocked.
Ah,
It gave me
okay.
that same vibe. I'm thinking, if the DLC comes out and there's an area where you can catch new Pokemon, especially old Pokemon that were initially locked away from the game, then maybe this DLC is not going to be that bad. Now, I'm not saying it's no Battle Frontier, because nothing will ever replace or become close to having like a Battle Frontier, because that was a really good addition to Pokemon Emerald.
Dude, Emerald Battle Frontier is one of the reasons I still play Gen 3.
I love it. I still to this day never
That's
collected all the
what is that?
badges for Battle Frontier.
How old is Pokemon Emerald now? 15 years old, and I still play it like
It's a shout out to how
frequently.
good the game is. But
Shout out. I mean, just clearly a
But I'm saying-
15-year-old game that still stands the test of time.
Yeah, so I'm saying is like the DLC, it's not going to be like Battle Frontier, but it gives me similar vibes of like, adding a whole new area to a game is not a bad idea, especially when the game itself is not super difficult. Maybe adding extra section with like extra difficulties settings to it would be really nice. Like Pokemon in the area could be like level 60 or 70, so it actually challenges you a little bit. Like something I've always wanted in a Pokemon game was like when you fought Red in a Leaf of Soul Silver and Heart Gold. When his Pokemon were like level 80,
full game, by the way.
that was good. I want something like that, except I want to face some random person with level 100 Pokemon. I'm just like, I'm gonna beat this person with a level 80 Pokemon team.
I think I have 600 hours in my copy of Heart Gold, and I almost am done completing the national decks on it. I've completed Gen 1 and 2 decks on it. I'm almost done with Gen 3 on it, and I'm almost done with Gen 4 on it. I think I'm at like 420 out of 493. Like, I like Pokemon, dude, and and I'll play them no matter what, for the most part. So for me to not get Sun and Moon, it's pretty fucking nuts, to be honest. And I still might get them, but I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. So
like, is it so? Isn't it like too easy? Like,
what Sword and Shield or Sun and Moon we're talking about right now?
Sword and Shield.
So Sword and Shield.
I played through Moon.
All right. So to my explanation of that one, because we're going a little way away from
yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I know we're doing this, but
I'm just gonna make it brief. We'll bring this up at a different time. But I'm someone that likes challenge in Pokemon games. That's why every Pokemon
I'm the same way.
Yeah, that's why every Pokemon game I play is a Nuzlocke. So the reason I say it's a little easier, because when you try to Nuzlocke this game, they give you a lot of freebies, because half the Pokemon you can find in the overworld, so you can kind of like game the system. But the problem also lies in the Pokemon in the overworld don't always spawn in the grass. So, you really just kind of have a choice of walking around. And the game does come with like a lot of features that are really cool, and like the area and environments are really nice. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, the Sword and Shield environments are the nicest looking environments I've seen in these Pokemon games.
It's pretty.
It's so pretty. Like when I went to the area where the fairy trainer fairy gym was, and you just go through this forest filled with glowing mushrooms, and it just gives you that mystical ambiance. It's really pretty. It's really nice.
All right, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah,
it is, and the game looks great. Like when you go to the open world, you see these like fully evolved Pokemon just walking around. It's really cool. Like, but you can also argue that it feels just a little bit empty, because like besides these areas, everything else feels a little more confined. So I just kind of wish they implemented a little more in the open world areas, as well as a little more ambiance in the less open world areas. But going back to Sun and Moon, I can't see the benefits of like making the game with the changes that it made, because they're just not enough.
Is it hardly made any?
Yeah, because it's hardly any big changes. Like I said, it's not a bad game. It's just Sun and Moon.
Oh yeah, Sun and like I'm in complete agreement with you. I would say they're both good games, Moon and Ultra Moon. Or Ultra Sun. I mean, they're identical. But like, what's the point in having a sequel if you're not going to change
too much?
Not even too much. Not really change anything. Like I played the first 10 hours of Ultra Moon, and I was like, why am I going to play this?
Oh, something.
Why am I going to play the same game I've already put 80 hours on?
Because something
I didn't even like the first one that
much. Just enough about it to make you feel different. because I remember in like regular Sun Moon, it took you a while, like it took you like 15 minutes almost to get your starter Pokemon, and they
Yes,
they
that's right.
changed that in Ultra Sun and Moon. It's a
I
lot
do
faster now.
remember that.
It's a lot faster
I
now.
remember that.
Yeah,
Yes, and I was happy to see that.
yeah. Nobody wants to
But
wait that
like,
long.
but that's such a minute convenience to give for an entire sequel. Like, I would expect something like that not in the sequel, but like a remaster.
Yeah.
Like that's
And
something I
also
would
to add,
expect
just for
there.
the viewers watching, because I know they're gonna tell me I missed this if I don't mention it. They do add the ability to fight different leaders from different Pokemon games, based on
Yeah,
which
I thought that
Pokemon
was
game you
pretty
get.
cool.
That was
I
really
thought that was
cool, and I
pretty
like
neat.
that addition. But again, I can't see the the benefit of making a whole new game similar enough to the first one, where they add just a couple of details to make it better. But
Hmm.
that's all we have to talk for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. If anything, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out our new channels on Facebook and Twitter. See if you can select anything for the polls for next week's podcast. But again, we're logging out, and thank you for watching. Bye.